please. Everybody find a seat. All right, we only have a little less than 40 minutes, and we have a very large, distinguished panel here of people from our industry sectors. They're here to give you kind of an overview of what possible careers are out there, the path to get to that career, some of the skills necessary for success in the career. So what we're going to do, we need to get started. We're here for about 40 minutes or so. We're going to start on our far end down there with Miss Emily. She's going to introduce herself. They're going to give some background information of their journey and what they currently work and do. Go ahead, Emily.
Okay. Hi, good morning. How you doing? Good. We got a big class today. This is exciting. So my name's Emily Hahn. I am a high school representative from the Art Institutes. Have any of you ever heard of the Art Institutes before? It's a creative arts college. That's where I work, and I'm a recruiter. So I'm in sales. I basically come in to classrooms all over. I work in San Diego area, and I talk to students about college, about doing what they love to do, and creative careers and majors. I'm actually not from California. I am from Michigan. Have any of you ever been to Michigan or heard of it? Maybe. It's the one with the lakes. Yeah. That's where I'm from. I grew up there, and I went to Michigan State University for college. I loved it. It's a Big Ten university. I'm very into college football and basketball. That was like half of my college career, was either waiting in line to get into the game or being in the game itself. So, I'm excited to be here, tell you a little bit about me, about my journey. I did a lot. I was really involved with my school, really involved in college. I did an internship, door-to-door sales. So that was really fun. And I'm excited to talk to you all today, but I'll hand it over and we can get started.
Good morning, Broncos. My name is Darren Daniel. I'm currently the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for the Marietta Valley Unified School District. My journey is probably a little bit different, although I'm a little bit local. Growing up as a student in high school, I had an opportunity to go away to college at the University of Arizona, where I got my undergrad. Had a couple different opportunities there academically that really kind of set the course. And I think as I sit here and working in human resources today, I never would have thought this would be my plan. My plan out of high school was to become a high school biology teacher, and I did that for a while. Became an administrator, served as assistant principal here in the district, here at Vista Marietta High School. I served as Vista's principal for about 7 years. Then I was promoted to the district office, and like I said, although not involved in the site administrative role any longer, my role really is the hiring and firing of employees inside the school district. So I kind of you think about Marietta Valley Unified School District is one of the largest employers in the city. We currently employ around over 2,000 employees. We're talking soup and nuts, from teachers all the way to cafeteria workers to custodians. A lot of different opportunities inside the school district. But if I would have told you when I was sitting there as a high school junior that I'm going to be a human resources administrator, I would have said, oh, I'm going to be a what? But primarily, I work with people every day. The most exciting part of my day is I get to hire young, fresh faces into the workforce here in Marietta. It's exciting to be able to work along the side with so many fantastic people in our pursuit to serve you. So thank you for allowing us to be here today.
Hello, everyone. My name's John Pratt. I also work, like Darren does, for the school district here as the senior systems engineer. I'm also local. I grew up in the area, went to school out here. I did that in my higher ed career as well. Kind of bounced around for quite a while. I was always a working student, so I spent my college career working as well as going to college, which I can tell you elongates things and complicates the process. So certainly if you have any questions in that regard, I may be able to provide some answers. Went to half a dozen community colleges around the area and ultimately wound up as a computer science major at Cal State San Marcos. I've worked in my field in technology for 20 plus years. I've worked for the district for about 7, worked for another school district in San Diego County for about 12. I also worked as a computer programmer in the 1990s in industrial automation and electroplating. So pass it on.
Good morning. My name's Leanne Green. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been in practice for 13 years. I work here at Loma Linda Medical Center. My career started out pretty humble. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, not really from the best side of town. Didn't go to a very good high school. Had to overcome a lot of challenges from a divorced family. Didn't have a lot of support, no money for college, things of that nature. But my point being is that you can overcome all these things. I still went to college right after high school, worked all the way through, got a bachelor's degree at Georgia State University, and then I became a traveling nurse, and that's how I ended up in California. Decided I wanted to go to graduate school to become a nurse practitioner, so went to UCLA and graduated with honors and a scholarship from there, and here I am. So if you have any questions about my career or my path, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tara Torres, and I'm actually a student right now at Cal State University, San Marcos. Anybody looking at San Marcos? All right. It's a great, easy, oh, you guys should already be looking into places. But San Marcos is a great college. It's an easy commute. You can live here in town and just zip down the 15, or you can move to San Diego. I'm in their speech language pathology program. They have a bachelor's in science program right now. We're the very first cohort. So you're a group of people who move through the 2-year program. And I'm applying to their grad school. You do need a master's in science and speech language pathology to be a speech pathologist. And I know that everyone may not know what a speech path is. So on this campus, there is a speech language pathologist, and she may be called a speech teacher. So did anybody go to speech? Go in and see the teacher talk about whatever your breakdowns were. That's my end goal, is to work in a school, a high school or elementary or middle school. There's also some other benefits for speech language pathologists. You're not stuck in one spot. You can work in education. You can work in a nursing facility. We also work with swallowing, pretty much anything between your larynx and your brain. This is our specialty. If you have damage to your brain by a traumatic brain injury or a stroke on your left side, all of that affects your language. So that's what a speech language pathologist does, is they help you regain either spoken speech or language, which is, I'm not going to explain all that. That's a lot. But so getting to the bachelor's program, I took a long route. I went to MSJC and finished all my undergrad and started this program. So if you guys have questions, I am looking forward to answering them.
My name is Don Hall. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and my story takes a lot of different turns. I went to UC Santa Barbara as an English major, and a little bit of trivia there. I met Patrick Stewart and Ben Kingsley, people that you might not know, but they're older Shakespearean actors. I studied Shakespeare. I didn't take a single psychology course in my undergraduate years. Didn't want anything to do with it. I then worked as a teacher for a couple of years, then a landscape gardener for a couple of years. Then I worked for a church for about 4 years, and a lady walked in and said, I've had 3 abortions, and my boyfriend and I are living on his methadone, selling it to buy enough food for our baby. And it occurred to me that I really didn't have any way to help her. So I went back to get a graduate degree in marriage and family therapy. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So sometimes the path is winding in order to find out what you want to do in your life. And nothing's wasted. Everything is useful as you go through your life, all your experiences. So you don't have to have a perfect answer right out of the gate. It'll come clear to you, but keep pushing forward. The obstacle question, I didn't have any money to go to college. There's 7 kids in my family. All of them went to college. None of them had any money. I worked myself through college and through graduate school. In fact, I lost most of my financial aid in a poker game the first quarter. So I had to work even harder to get myself through. But there are obstacles that you can overcome to be successful.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Brad Coonrad. I grew up in Marietta. Family and I moved here in 1990. I graduated. Now, the earlier session booed me on this, but I graduated from the Red and Black School. Hopefully you guys won't boo me. Okay. Not too bad. Thanks for taking it easy on me. After high school, I moved down to San Diego, played basketball at college for a couple years. My background, I'm a big sports guy, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are. I know you have a great athletic program here. And so I always knew I wanted to work in sports, as I'm sure it's a very popular career that a lot of people want to get into. As you've heard from some, I've taken kind of different paths to get where they were. I knew that I wanted to work in sports, so I've done everything in my career to set that up. So I started working for Chick Sporting Goods way back when. That has now been switched over and bought out by Dick's Sporting Goods. So I worked at Dick's while I was going through school. I graduated from Cal State Long Beach with my undergrad in communication. And then knowing that I wanted to work in sports, I got my master's degree in sport management. And now I currently oversee marketing and sponsorship for the Southern California region for Dick's Sporting Goods. So for those that are interested in sports, 2 of my other colleagues here that will speak to it as well, but please feel free to ask us any questions for those that retail, sporting goods, marketing, those types of things. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here, and thank you for being so attentive. I'm just very curious. I have to ask some of you, by a show of hands, how many of you have ever shopped at Dick's Sporting Goods? Yeah, that's fantastic news. Really appreciate it. I hope the service was good. So what I would really just like to spend a couple minutes talking to you about is by way of a little bit about my history. So I was raised in a military family. Like I said to the previous group, I moved 19 times in 21 years, and I went to 5 high schools. And so when I actually got out of high school, I think confusion was the key word for me. Really kind of a lack of stability, and not really sure about what direction I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. And so if there are those of you who are out there right now that might feel a little bit like that, don't worry. Keep working at it. Keep talking to people. You're going to find your way. Trust me, you'll find your way. What over the years, what I've felt was really important to me in my life in terms of a sense of purpose was always trying to help others. And it's interesting that I fell into retail. But one thing about retail, there's always people around you. You're always part of a team. You're always team building. You're always working with people who come to work, some feeling pretty good, some not feeling so good. And that was of great interest to me. And so I work for 3 major retailers, Circuit City, Best Buy, and now Dick's Sporting Goods. And I've been with Dick's Sporting Goods for the past 9 years. It's a fabulous job for me. It's been a fabulous career. The consistent threads for me have been, this is going to might sound kind of weird, but it's actually the ability to help others, actually to sit down with someone and talk about the scope of opportunity that's present for them, whether it be Best Buy, at Best Buy or Circuit City, and now Dick's Sporting Goods, and we have fabulous career opportunities. But what's also interesting is a lot of people who come into our stores throughout the country. We have over 800 stores now. A lot of people who come in, they don't know that much about the opportunity at Dick's Sporting Goods. And there are tremendous opportunities. If you're a computer programmer, we're hiring. If you're a buyer, if you love merchandising, if you love retail merchandising, we're hiring. If you love working with customers, we're hiring. So there's tremendous opportunity out there for you. And if you're a little confused about, what you want to do and what your purpose in life is going to be, I think it's great that you might be thinking about that now. It'll probably direct your undergraduate work that you do if you plan on going to college. But stay at it, and you're going to find your way, and trust me, if you stay focused on discovering what it is that you want to do, you'll find it. So thank you, guys. It's great to be here.
Hi, my name's Lindsay Delamater. I also work at Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm actually a store manager for the company. I apologize, my voice kind of goes in and out. I grew up around here. I'm actually from Temecula. I went to Chaparral, and I went to Chapman University for school. I got my degree in business administration and advertising. Once I graduated from school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to get into. While in college, I worked part-time at Dick's Sporting Goods just as a part-time associate. It helped me pay for a lot of stuff in school. I was in clubs, but I was able to work full-time, and I was able to go to school full-time, which was a huge time commitment and huge time management. Once I graduated, I was afforded the opportunity to get promoted within Dick's Sporting Goods and actually get into the management career path, and that's essentially what I decided to do, and I'm thankful that I did it. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew business could be applied to anything, but I was thankful for Dick's Sporting Goods. I was able to get promoted, and now I run a store in San Diego. And now I have a range of associates that I help manage and help develop from age 18 when they're still in high school up until when they're retired and they're just looking for part-time work to keep them busy. It's a great career path. If you guys have any questions about how to manage your time while in school or about the retail industry, please let me know.
Good morning. My name is Brian Alvarado. I am an engineer. I grew up locally in San Jacinto, like 45 minutes away from here, and went to school in Riverside. In high school, I was good at math and science, so pretty much people told me you need to become an engineer, so that's what I did. I don't recommend following that advice. By the way, just because you're good at or have certain skills doesn't necessarily mean you have to take a certain career path, but it worked out for me. Anyways, so I'm an environmental engineer. I did my undergraduate work at Florida International University. That's in Miami. I worked as a resident assistant and as a tutor, and then also I had internships, which is probably one of the most important jobs that you can take, especially as an engineer during your undergraduate years. Once I graduated with my bachelor's, I worked for a year in a water quality lab doing analytical testing. Decided I wanted to go back to graduate school, so I went to Stanford. I got my master's in civil and environmental engineering. And since I graduated from there, I've been working at a firm called Larry Walker Associates for the past 6 years. And as I mentioned, I'm an environmental engineer, so a little bit of what I do is we do regulatory assistance. So I don't really do any drawings. What I do is I help our clients navigate their regulatory responsibilities and figure out how to meet them in a cost-effective manner. But there are many, many, many other disciplines within engineering, as you may or may not know. There's mechanical, electrical, aerospace, aeronautical, chemical, just to name a few. Although I don't really work in those disciplines, if you have any questions about engineering, please feel free to ask.
All right, I hope, my job is to kind of moderate and ask certain questions, but it's also to summarize. One of the unique things that I think I heard from all these presentations is there is no direct journey to where you go. If you look at the entire panel, most of them all set a very consistent path. Their path was inconsistent. They thought they knew what they wanted to do, but the most important thing was they stuck to it. They kept trying different things until they found something that they truly love. And I hear the excitement and passion in most of their voices that they truly love doing what they're doing. And I think that's encouraging for you guys as a group of juniors to know that you don't have to have it all figured out today. Okay, there's a lot of pressure. Oh, you got to know. No, you have to know what you have to know, and you want to stick to whatever that plan is, but the plan could change. And you heard a lot of success stories from going in a different direction, majoring in one thing and working in another field. What I'm curious to know is, and they can kind of enlighten us, is when you talk about skills, because we think, if you're good at math and science, as Bryant said, then you should go be an engineer. Well, that could be, but what are the exact skills that you feel are highlighted in their particular fields? So I'd like them to a few of them to answer and say, these are the skills that an employer or that we would look for to be successful in our field. Some of you guys could take that question.
So for me, I always talk about communication skills because I was a communication major in college. I started off as marketing, but then I changed to communication. I like talking, so it works out really nicely. But I think one thing that I know that I learned in college and throughout my career is it's important not only to be able to talk to people, make those connections, especially in sales when you're selling whatever you're selling, if it's a product, if it's a school, you're selling yourself at the same time. You have to be confident. If people don't like what you're saying or they don't like the way you're saying it, they might not like the product or whatever you're trying to sell. But also what I think is really important is how you react to failure. Every single one of you, every single one of us on this panel has failed at a point in their life. And that will happen, I promise. But the important part is that you keep going. Like I said, I did door-to-door sales, and I think it was probably the hardest thing that I will ever do in my life. I got a lot of rejection. People would, not let me or not want me to talk to them. They would slam the door in my face. But the thing that I learned was that I had to get up and go to the next door and find the yes. And I had to keep going. And eventually I did find the yes with a lot of families. And I was selling educational materials that, literally changed kids' lives. Kids that didn't have a lot of guidance or didn't have a lot of support. So that's kind of how I got connected to education and really, trying to help people. So it's not just, how you fail, or I guess it's not just, how you succeed, it's how you fail as well, because you have to keep going. Just because someone says no to you, or, you don't get into the school you want, or you don't, get exactly what you want right away, you just need to keep trying. And I think that's one of the most important things. You can do whatever you want. You have the choice. You can choose, but you have to be committed, and you have to be confident in yourself and know what you actually want to do. So I think that's super important.
Through my journey, I've had to acquire a lot of different types of skills. Once upon a time being a biology teacher, and what I do now is a whole different skill set. Obviously both are, the commonality is I deal with people. And one of the things, a skill I had to acquire through my journey was the concept of emotional intelligence, being able to stay calm, have a level of empathy in people, and understanding where people are coming from, even though when they're going through a very challenging time, maybe even in crisis. My background a little bit, I used football and wrestling as my vehicle to get through college, and so to be able to stay calm across the table, especially in a time of adversity, is something I truly had to learn. It wasn't part of my DNA. I was a kid that grew up, like I said, I was the first college graduate in my family, on both sides, all the way back. There was no college graduates I actually knew in my family. And so having to kind of grow and find my own path was wildly important. But I think as an employer for the school district, one of the things we look for are people who not only have the ability to pursue their education and persevere, and again, you will fail, but pick yourself up and move forward. I think the one thing that's most important is being able to detach from your phone and understand the human condition and understand people and have a level of empathy for individuals and being able to listen. Because I think overall, your education is going to provide you a lot of great knowledge, but your attentiveness to people is going to provide you great opportunity in life. And so never underestimate the value of an individual, and understanding your role as you're getting ready to go to high school or go to college is every day's an interview. Everybody's judging you, and you never know who's going to be sitting next to you, because at one point in time you might pop up in a job interview and someone you've had to exchange with, and maybe not a positive way, might be across the table. So as you think about yourself and your journey, I'm going to encourage and challenge you to really start to take advantage of those opportunities that you might just sometimes kind of blow off, but understanding the concept of every day is an interview and taking some of those skills right now in your junior year to be serious for the future.
I think you guys probably hear a theme starting to emerge here. They say that success is falling down, 9 times and getting up 10. And that really is the case. I mean, you've got to be persistent. It probably seems strange for us to be talking about failure as a skill, but I remember some years back reading one of the nerd magazines I used to subscribe to in an interview with one of the main hiring managers for a big tech company that you guys are all familiar with now. And in the interview, they asked him, is there any interview question that you ask every applicant that if they don't, get correct, they just can't be hired? And he did say, yeah, there is. I always ask, what's your last biggest mistake? And if you don't have anything, you're not going to get hired. Because if you haven't made any mistakes, you haven't learned anything. So, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but it's how you react to those and how you learn from them that's really going to determine your success.
I would add to this, skills for success is integrity, and that's pretty much doing what you know is right, even if somebody is not going to hold you accountable. I think that it's a skill that's easy to slide on, but in the moment, I think kind of what everybody is saying, you have to make those choices that are going to propel you into a positive future. If you did something wrong in a job or at school and you're scared to admit that you were either wrong or you made a mistake, your employer or your teacher, whoever you're coming up against, is going to appreciate you saying, hey, I messed up, or hey, I don't know how to do this. Like, can you help me, or find a resource to help you? But going in that direction instead of getting yourself tangled up in small little lies everywhere makes life a whole lot easier. So I would say integrity, and also believing in yourself. I think all of us kind of took a very winding path to get us to where we're at. For me, it was not going to college because I didn't think I was smart enough. And then I got in the work field and I started talking to these people who were doing what I wanted to do. And I was like, these are not smart people. The majority of everyone out there, they're not all that smart. You're just as smart as all of them. You have the exact same skills and ability to do the job that you guys want to be doing. So believe in yourself and take with that integrity.
All right, thank you. I'd like to hear, because I think you guys want the reality of what their job is like. The reality is that we want to know what you love about your job. In other words, what are the best rewards? What are the perks? What are the things that get you excited every day in your job? And then the reality is almost every job, because it is a job or a career, has some negatives or some struggles or some things that we'd like you to give them a realistic view of what your job is. So if you could highlight kind of the great successes and rewards, and then some of the things that struggle and that you have to fight through in order to do your job the best that you can.
So I'll jump on that one. So I work in sports. So for those that are interested in sports, it's a great field to be in. Every day, they say if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's kind of how I feel. Every day I get to wake up, and I'm working in the field that I have chosen that I'm very passionate about. In my actual position, I get to give back to a lot of communities. So for those that have ever played in any kind of youth sports setting growing up, that's what I do a lot, is I build relationships with youth sports organizations, high schools as well, and support those programs, and I'm able to give back so that we're able to play. Because as you guys probably know, it's a lot of time and effort that either your teachers, coaches, board members put in so that you guys are able to play. And as Dick's Sporting Goods as a company is passionate about supporting that, and it's fantastic. A couple of the challenges would be is that we, one, are a very large company. As John mentioned, we have over 800 stores. Our headquarters are in Pittsburgh, and we're over here on the West Coast. And so sometimes when we want to get things done, on the West Coast here, you're dealing with a lot of, we'll call it politics, I guess, being a larger company. And so a lot of times you see on the surface it's always glamorous, but there is a lot of hard work, a lot of challenges that come with working sometimes with bigger companies. But it's not a huge challenge. It's something we can deal with on a regular basis, but it can be challenging. But at the end of the day, working in sports is something I'm passionate about, and I think that if you guys follow that, whatever you're passionate about, you won't feel like work. It'll feel like something that you are excited to get up and go and work hard at and continue to succeed. So just follow what you're passionate about, and you'll find success.
So I think there's two things I'd like to say. One, I can kind of tell you my speaking from my specific discipline, what I like about what I do. Pretty much, well, in most engineering disciplines, probably when you're going to start out, you're going to be learning. You're going to be doing things that maybe aren't really cutting edge, but you're kind of building that foundation. As you start to progress, then one of the main things that I love about my job is that every day, pretty much, I come across a problem that pretty much nobody within my team knows how we're going to solve. So it's pretty much, okay, this problem has come up. I'm working with people with 20, 30 years of experience. They have some ideas, and that's how we get started. But then it's kind of on me to, okay, figure out how we're going to solve this problem. So that's probably the thing that I love the most, is that reward that you get at the end of that process once you figure out how you're going to tackle the problem. As an engineer, depending on, so one thing that I didn't cover is also within engineering, there's private sector. I work within the private sector. There's also public sector. There's nonprofit jobs available. But if you are in the private sector, then there is the potential for pretty long days and long weeks. So it does get pretty busy, but I think it's worth it given what I just said I love about it. But then the other thing I want to say is, I mean, that's just one discipline and one specific sector of that discipline. So if you are interested in engineering, I really, really, really encourage you to reach out to folks that are in the disciplines that you're interested in and ask them, because there's so many different disciplines, and they'll each be able to tell you, pretty much answer the same question, and that will be probably more informative than what I can say.
As a marriage and family therapist, I work with relationship issues inside of families, and sometimes tragic things happen. People die. There are suicides. There are broken marriages. There are families that are torn apart. So there's a lot of pain in the work that I do that involves having to connect with those people and help them through that part of their life. And so you have to have a lot of empathy in my work, and those are sad times when I work with a family or a marriage and they make a decision to end that marriage in spite of the best efforts that we made. And so there's a grief process that goes through that as they move on with their lives. There's also some successes. If I've helped a family resolve some problems and forgive each other and put a marriage back together, that's a very satisfying day. But much of that has to do with the motivation of the client and not so much my skill. But I need to come alongside of them and support them. So the positives of my work, I'm also a businessman, so I get to set my hours. I get to work as much as I want or as little as I want. That's a positive in my profession as a therapist. The downside, sometimes I work all by myself because the confidentiality in my business is such that unless there's a specific reason to consult with another doctor or another therapist, it's pretty much on me. And one skill, we talked about skills a little bit earlier, you're going to need in my business is sometimes I say, can you keep a secret and can you not keep a secret? Because if you can't keep a secret, it's the wrong job for you. But you also have to not keep some secrets when people are in danger. You have to tell, and you have to try to keep people safe. So it takes the ability to say, hey, they may not ever talk to me again, but this is the right thing to do in order to keep people safe, because it's kind of just a little basic thing. If they're not safe, they can't get better.
Thank you. In our earlier discussion, I'm going to kind of use a question from the morning session to propose it to our panel. I think students are interested in knowing the college experience, what you majored in, how did that major tie to your career, what type of classes did you have to take, what's the process? So if I want to be a nurse practitioner, for example, we can start with you. What's the process of doing that from here? A couple of you could talk about how do I get into those retail high-level positions? Where do I start? Where do I go in each of your different career fields?
So my first suggestion, if you want to go into medicine, is definitely use your resources here at school and elsewhere as far as talking to guidance counselors about GPAs and things of that nature, because I'm unfamiliar with that part. But when I went to school, it's been a while, but I didn't have to declare a major right away. I just went in and took the basic education courses and then decided that I really wanted to do a medical career. And so kind of went down the, I think they make you pick like a science track or an arts track or a business track. So you say, okay, I want to do something in sciences. And then you kind of hone in on those classes. So if you want to do nursing or medicine or even physical therapy, they have you start taking anatomy, physiology, you take organic chemistry. I mean, they kind of tell you what all you need to take. Those science classes, those classes that are geared towards your major specifically, those are the ones you really need to make your best grades in. And if you don't get a good grade in, don't be ashamed to take it over, because as I said in the last session, at least for nursing, it's based on a point system for most schools. So you need to find out what that point system is. But for my school, it was the grades that you made in your science classes, how many years you had attended that particular school, and there was various other things. So I looked at that point system and really focused in on those things so that I could get the highest points possible, because at that time I think they were accepting like 1 in 10 students to the nursing program. I don't know what the statistics are now. I'm sure it depends on what you apply for. But if it were me trying to go to school now, I think I would make sure that I broadened my search, because California is very, very competitive from what I hear, especially for nursing and medicine and that. So I would say even if you don't have the money to do it, you know, you can get loans and things like that. Don't be afraid to look outside of California. Look at some schools in other states that maybe don't have a wait list. You can pay, you know, this is one of those professions where if you go into nursing or medicine or physical therapy, when you get out, you get a job. I mean, there's a job there waiting for you. So it's not like you're going to be this English major that gets out of college and like, now what do I do? Do I get a teaching credential? Do I have to do this? It's almost like you have to get more education to find a job. If you go into nursing school, you come out and you take your test and you're a nurse and you immediately start making money so you can pay back those loans. Did that answer the question? Okay.
And you also mentioned that I think earlier you failed at some of those entrance, 4 different nursing schools.
Yeah,
or
I
something
did.
Like that?
And the first year I applied, I didn't make it to any of them. So that was a turning point. It's like, did I want to continue pursuing that path? Or should I change it up and do something else? But I decided I really wanted to pursue it. So your commitment is a big predictor of your success. If it's something that you truly want, you can have it. Just believe in yourself. Like they said, don't be afraid to fail. Pick yourself up and try again.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a similar thing about how their college experience, classes, maybe as a business major or going into retail, or maybe Jonathan with computer science, because I know we have people interested. How do those paths lead to certain professions, and where do you start within those professions? Because I think the reality is, as students, we all think of the end job, right? We always think of that top dog, I'm running the company, I'm making all the money. But the reality is there's a path. So if you've been in the retail industry for 35 years, what's that path? What does it look like? And how do you get there from your degree, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so it's been a long, long time for me since I went to college. But I'm going to be honest with you. I ended up being a history major, and you know how it actually applied to where I ended up and what I ended up doing are actually very, very different. But what I can tell you I got out of college was I learned how to be disciplined. I had a rigorous routine. I took my classes. I got credit for those classes. It taught me how to control a schedule. It taught me the discipline of actually having to study in a library, Carol, in a library for hours on end. So if you have a very technical profession, then obviously the story is a little bit different and the message would be a little bit different. But I just want to tell you guys that when you walk into a Dick's Sporting Goods store, there's a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And it starts with the way that we take care of our customers, and it ends with the way that we take care of our customers. But there is a whole bunch of stuff and a whole lot of jobs that make all that happen. So it's still an industry where you can literally walk in off the street with a completely unrelated degree and have a fabulous career, and I'm going to describe it to you right now. So when you initially start with your organization, you typically part-time as you work your way through college, like Lindsay did, or you start out as a full-timer. You then become a department lead. So what does that mean? Well, if you love baseball, if you love softball, you can become a lead, a leader, a department leader in those positions. After you have done that successfully, you're going to take on multiple departments, and you're going to manage multiple groups of people. You know, I would say anywhere from 7 to 20 people, so it's a large number of people that you're going to manage. That is when you become an assistant sales manager in our organization. Obviously, you get paid more. Obviously, you get more responsibility. But the whole idea is that you're tracking towards a goal that eventually gets you to what is really a very competitive salary, a very good salary as a store manager who's managing a multi-million-dollar business operation, leading a team of people from 65 to 80 people or associates in that organization, has a tremendous amount of responsibility to the P&L, meaning that they have to control their expenses. They have to be a good person. I mean, a good business person. They have to control their expenses. They have to drive sales. They have to drive other company initiatives. They've got a lot on their plate. They have to be very entrepreneurial in their spirit. And I would say that they have to have almost a prerequisite is a great attitude. Because as everybody knows, attitude, not aptitude, determines the altitude of your success. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there are a plethora of opportunities out there. There are a multitude of ways to get there. If you're interested in becoming a doctor or a more technical profession, I think that everything that these fine folks have said, make sure that you study hard, and I would agree with that. But when it relates to retail, think about it. It's wide open for you if you enjoy interacting with people, if you enjoy coaching people. Right now, if you're a coach of your Little League or something like that, or if you're an assistant coach, those leadership skills parlay very, very well into a successful retail career at Dick's Sporting Goods. I hope that was helpful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, as our time kind of wraps up here, we wanted to give you guys an opportunity to ask a couple questions. We have a large group, but we can probably take 2 or 3 questions that are specific in nature if you want to know more about a particular field. Does anybody have a question they want to ask? We'll start over here. Think of your question. I'll come to you in a minute.
Hello. Well, that's cool. So I know what I want to do when I get out of high school. I don't really know where I want to go to college, but I know what I want to do. And I know that I'm going to have to switch colleges after getting my bachelor's, and it's going to be something a bit unrelated. So I wanted to know how you guys handled student debt when you switch fields.
Okay, that is a great question. I would like for you to think of the student debt as an investment. You can go out and buy an $80,000 car. Your education transports your life. So buy the clunker, make sure it's safe and it has airbags, but your education is worth it. Now, do you want to go into education or medical? Do you know what field do you want to go into, hon? Into law? Okay, well, you're going to get a job. The lawyers are needed, and you're going to make money, and you're going to pay it off. But also, anyone who wants to go into education, I recommend you guys looking into loan forgiveness. You can work for 10 years and fill out some paperwork and have part of your loans forgiven. It's one of the benefits of going into education and working. There are parameters for that, but it's possible. But really, the investment of education is well worth it, and especially with law, you're going to be able to get a job that those payments are not going to be overwhelming. It may seem overwhelming now, but it's well worth it.
Thank you. You also heard that all of them work their way through college. Okay, the dream that you see on TV where you just go to college, hang out all day, go to college and don't work, that's not really the reality. The reality is all of them, I heard, have jobs. They all worked, went to school, balanced the load, and because of that, they were able to get out and pay off their debts and do their things. Do we have another question? I'll come to the middle. Getting short on time.
Okay, so my question's for Miss Leanne Green. I want to know what exactly you specialize in within your field and what going into the master's for nursing was like.
Okay, so currently I specialize in internal medicine, which is the care of adults 18 to whenever. However, I did get my master's degree as a family nurse practitioner, so I was trained to take care of all ages. However, I do not prefer pediatrics so much. Your age group's fine, but the little ones not so much. And then what was it about the transition to getting? So I did not, and I don't know that people typically do this, but I don't think you usually go directly from the bachelor's into the master's. Most people do work as an RN I think there might have been one person in my class that went directly over, but the experience is key, I think, to making that transition from RN to nurse practitioner, because there's just so much that you can gain in your clinical experience to bring to that next profession. So I probably wouldn't recommend going directly from the bachelor's to the master's. Go out, experience what it's like to be a nurse, and really take your time and then decide, where you want to go to school and what specialty you want to do. Because you can do oncology, you can do pediatrics, you can be a midwife, you can do acute care, which is more hospital work. So there's a lot of different avenues that you could experience as a nurse practitioner. But if you didn't really work as a nurse, you wouldn't really know which one to go into.
Thank you. You guys, it's time. I know you guys have a ton of questions. Maybe before you file out, if you want to ask a specific question, the panel will take it. Let's give them one more round of applause for dedicating their day to us. All right, if you have a specific question, you can come up and ask him on your way out. Thank you.
For doctors, yeah. I heard that they are looking for more diverse type physicians these days. So I didn't apply to that program.